condensed light that holds all the information, the connection back to ancient Lemuria, because we haven't lost all those memories. We still carry them with us in the water via the light. And that is birthing this new Lemuria that I think will emerge really as ancient but new land masses that will have that frequency, and they will be incredibly fertile. I mean, they've discovered one gigantic mountain range, as you know, off the coast of Chile, incredibly fertile with new sea creatures. You know, this is Haumea, this is Salacia. You know, it's the dwarf planets blending together to give us this promise of a new life of light and love that we've never known before.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Kelly and I have had several conversations about Salacia, and also I think of Varda and Manwë, also specifically Varda, you know, being on the galactic center, and she brings in another something. There's something there with her about the light coming through, and so much there.
She placed the stars, didn't she? It said in the creation myth that she placed the stars in the sky, set them on their course. So again, we're back to the light, and of course the stars sort of ejaculate water all the time for us. So the water that we're receiving on the Earth, some of it is 4.5 billion years old, or Dr. Jukaran said even older than the Earth itself, and that all carries memory. And that water is condensed light. You know, there's something in all of this that is that unique puzzle piece that if you discover what it is, Martha, if you can... But there's something that's thrilling about this.
I'm feeling called to bring in a piece that it definitely is at my edge of comfort in terms of sharing publicly, but I'm being told to, so I will. And I have shared about this a little bit with my community, but I'm really curious to get your thoughts. So in addition, when you're talking about the land masses in re-emerging, and the relationship with the crystalline realities and all of that, another component that has been coming through for me for many years now, and I've only just started telling people about it in the last year, is I have had a powerful set of experiences with I live in Santa Barbara, California, and you know, it's paradise, literal paradise, and just incredible natural mountains and ocean and all of it. Okay, so long story short, several years ago we had a horrible forest fire. At that point, it was the worst forest fire of California, and it burned. Honoring of these beings and honoring of ourselves and honoring of each other. You know, that's so I was born on a full moon in Virgo, if that gives you a sense of, I mean, it's got the Pisces, but I've got very strong Virgo too.
I have more Earth, so
okay.
So the days are quite hard, you know, no practical skills at all. Well, you're perfect. You're anchored. It's beautiful, that Pisces Virgo opposite.
Well, yeah. So I keep coming back to this needs to be shared, but it needs to be done in a deeply rooted way. You know, we're beings of Earth, we're Gaians, like Jude says, and in addition to beings of the cosmos, and the Earth is part of the cosmos, so we don't want to just fly off to never land. We're here for a reason. Anyway, yeah.
And of course, Virgo is very connected to the ancient wisdom of the Earth, isn't it? The ancient keepers, all the natural plant medicines, etc. And there's something so ancient with that. Gosh, that's absolutely thrilling. And to some extent, you know, this was Tolkien's work, wasn't it? And his work about the creation myth and Silmarillion, etc. Are you feeling there's any particular dwarf planet, maybe Sedna, that's linking with that? I mean, Sedna is very much the seas, but nevertheless, it's very deep, isn't it? And creating a metamorphosis. So are there other dwarf planets that are resonating with you for this, Martha?
Well, I keep thinking of the Lelea Kuhanua, that orc cloud being that you and I have discussed a little bit through email. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if you have any thoughts about that, I'd be really curious. But I absolutely, once I dropped into learning about that being and its relationship with Sedna and its relationship with Hawaii. I mean, it's named, it's a Hawaiian name and all of it. One thing that came through for me, I think I'm still really wanting to hold space for a collective remembering of what this being is. But one thing that definitely powerfully came through for me was a sense of Lelea Kuhanua has an orbit that is 3 times Sedna's orbit. So so Sedna's orbit, as you know, is half of a why am I blanking on the word? Half of a precessional cycle.
Yes, 11,400 years. Yeah,
exactly. And then Lelea Kuhanua's orbit is approximately 36,000 years, right? So it's actually 1.5 times the precessional cycle. That's a really interesting connection to me. And Lelea Kuhanua is named after the not the bird, but the a quality of the Kolea bird, who is a bird who is born in the Arctic of Alaska, just like Sedna, then flies to Hawaii on a nonstop 3-day flight, and has a life.
It's a tiny bird, isn't it? It's a tiny bird.
Yeah. And then somehow, knows how to then go back to Alaska. So it has this orbit, you could say, between Sedna's homeland and one area that we could consider Lemuria, right? Or connected to Lemuria. And so something that definitely has arisen for me is this sense of, I've gotten a vision of the Lelea Kuhanua orbit, which is so long, 36,000 years. When I have tuned into, I call it a her, I don't want to genderize it, but anyway, when I tune into her being, what I feel is pretty immediately is, she says, I'm not just where I am, I'm my whole orbit, right? Like I'm the whole elliptical oval orbit, and I'm holding space for everything. And I'm holding space for all of you. So, and then what I see is within that, it feels almost like a hula hoop. And within that hula hoop, then I see and I feel what Keone Hanalei talks about, the Lemuria. To him, I don't want to speak for him, but my understanding is what he says is that it's really also what may just emerge is our own frequency will re-emerge, right? And then these land masses, or the whatever is we're meant to remember, will then emerge out of the sea, or out of the sea of our consciousness, or whatever however you want to describe it. And so what I see is within that orbit of Lelea Kuhanua that we're being held to let this quote unquote Lemuria, or the raise in consciousness, to rise itself all together as a collective.
Yeah, that's thrilling. It really is, Martha. And when Keone was speaking with Heather Ainsworth, our good friend, I remember him saying that all those land masses of ancient Lemuria are still there. It's because humanity fell from love that we can't see them. But, they're just in another dimension. But once we kind of reconnect to love at a higher level, we will see them very easily. They're just that other dimension. And that's a very exciting concept indeed.
Yeah.
And you come back to love as always being the answer to these things. But that is fascinating about.
But yeah, I can start with the first one. So why smart contract automation is crucial for the success of Supreme DAO. So yeah, we started talking about Supreme DAO with powerful team pretty early on. We had a vision of a of a new type of asset, the asset that is backed by automated strategies that are generating yield, and this yield is being represented in the price of this asset. So that's how we came to the idea to use Power Agent, because if you build a dynamic strategy that is doing multiple things on chain, you need a way to trigger those actions, and especially it is important that it is a decentralized network that is doing so um, in order to preserve security of the overall system and make sure that there is uh, no unwanted behavior happening. So yeah, we talked with Power Agent's team, and we came up with an idea to build a first strategy, which doesn't have our this asset that I mentioned previously. The asset is called Yai, and it's more of a
Женя,
future
через
vision
какое-то
for
время,
Supreme DAO. Right
чуть-чуть
now, we are
еще,
focusing on
хочу закончить.
building a strategy that will leverage users' WST ETH to participate in high yield farms on Aura, and will automatically manage this leveraged position through swapping yield and maintaining the leveraging um, of the user, as well as auto compounding. And it's all very time sensitive, because for example, by leveraging I mean opening a CDP on Curve on CRV-USD, and CRV-USD has soft liquidation mechanisms where your CDP could be partially liquidated. And in this sense, it's very important to focus on to work with efficient technologies such as Power Agent that could be faster than liquidation of CRV-USD. So then we can prevent users losing their funds.
Okay, thank you. I think at this point, Vasily, you should just continue to ask Taoism about the Power Agent value proposition, how they saw the value proposition of Power Agent versus, developing their own Keeper bot or other options.
Yep. So yeah, this was my next question. So yeah, the question is, if you consider, so if you want to build some automation, the first idea that came, to the majority of people is, okay, I will launch my own RPC for the network I'm using, for example, for Ethereum. I will launch my simple script that will use some Ethereum wallet to trigger all the transactions, and this route looks logical and it's quite easy to run. Of course, if you have some some skills in writing scripts and not running, of course. Yeah, but the question is, from the developer's point of view, so for you, why the network of keepers, so like professional network of signers, is better in comparison with the centralized bots running? So yeah, what do you think? And yeah, so what's main issues in both sides, for example, for onboarding this, for launching this really fast? So yeah, what do you think about the centralized bots we see the automation networks?
Yeah, so we really value. Thanks a lot for the question. In Taoism systems, we really value key set of cypherpunk ethos, and that's decentralization and interoperability. Running your own script is against this ethos, because it gives you ultimate power of on which transactions would you want to execute and which you want, and that would also be against the DAO ethos, because then you would just be yet another centralized entity pretending that you're building a decentralized system. And using Power Agent and the decentralized Keepers network actually brings the aspect of decentralization and interoperability. I think the beauty of Web3 is that you can take other people's stuff and build something with them, and become this almost like a mycelium network of projects that are working together in synchronicity. So yeah, it was really cool to learn more about Power Agent and build something with it. And we are definitely looking forward to keep building with you guys.
Great. Obviously, there's a long list of reasons why Power Agent is a value add, but the one you mentioned, which is to make your own development credibly neutral, is an important one. And I think that people in DeFi haven't given enough emphasis to rooting out those cases where existing protocols are using their own internal, home-rolled keeper bots, and they aren't credibly neutral, and they are in fact single points of failure. I think that people will start calling this stuff out. It just takes time for communities to get on top of where the risks really are. We just had a major introduction to slashing risk for everybody who's staking because of a bug in Go. And, it just takes one little incident like that to alert everybody to the fact that, hey, there is automation going on. I didn't even know it. And in fact, it's not credibly neutral, and it has single points of failure. All these lessons are laid out in the roadmap going forward. And we try to use sessions like this to raise awareness, but, it just takes a lot of time. That said, what's the current status of your work? Where have you managed to succeed, and what are you still working on?
Yeah, so currently we are finishing our smart contracts. We are maybe I explained a little bit how the system works, but maybe I can go through it a little bit one more time. So we are building a system that is incorporating CRV USD and Aura, and also decentralized exchange to execute this particular strategy of maximizing users' WST holdings through leveraging and auto compounding. So there is quite a bit of smart contract work here, which we are currently focusing on and making sure that everything is secure and well tested, because we don't want users to lose their funds. And we are currently implementing automation on with Power Agent. So then the whole system could be ready in the next month.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that it's coming along. What have been the biggest difficulties you've had in incorporating Power Agent?
Well, the process was pretty smooth so far. We have great communication channel open with Power Pool team. In case any questions arise, we get the answers pretty fast. So far it was a smooth ride.
Well, that's good to hear. I hope others will be encouraged as well. As I understand it, one of the key modules that you're working on is the liquidation protection. Have we actually started to test the liquidation protection features?
No, not yet. We are still building the functionality in the smart contracts, but the logic will pretty much look like that. There is a health parameter of the CDP, which is open, and then Power Agent would be query the health of the CDP, and in case if it's fallen below 30%, then yield is automatically being used to close a fraction of this CDP. So then the health could get higher. And in case the health is at 30% or above that, then the agent will be able to leverage more, to use the yield in order to buy more BST with this CDP.
Okay, and what about issues like latency and response times or gas spikes and things like that?
Yeah, it's definitely an important part of success of Supreme DAO. So we are not live yet, even in the test mode. So it's hard to answer this question right now. I think that in the future, it's systems like that would make sense to be launched on a rollup rather than on the mainnet like we do it right now. But still, at the moment, the most liquidity is on the mainnet, so we've decided to go with this one. But next strategies that we are going to release, we are most probably going to release on a rollup, such as Arbitrum.
Well, Power Agent obviously is going to Arbitrum as well. There's a lot of ETH on Arbitrum, which is currently quite yield starved. So perhaps we can target some of that ETH that sits on Arbitrum.
Definitely.
Yeah, could I ask about the testing? So when you will finally develop the stuff that you need and all the automation jobs, I think that you need to make some tests for the contract, and also the tests in on-chain environment. So it means that. So what do you plan? You plan to launch some test version of of the product in Arbitrum, for example, or use some Gnosis or Sepolia? What is your vision for the testing process? Of course, you will make all the standard tests for the contracts as usual, right? But above that, so besides that, what do you plan to do for testing?
Yes. So usually in DAOism systems, we before launching the full product on the mainnet, we launch it on the testnet. But the thing is that currently there is no CRV-USD and Aura and Balancer all together on one testnet at the same time. So most probably we are going to test in prod after we go through the security audit. We would launch in the stealth mode on the mainnet and go through the testing phase on the mainnet until we are ready to go public and open our front end and the entire thing to the wider community.
Okay, maybe you have some questions you'd like to ask us?
Yeah, definitely. So how does the Power Agent network ensure that crucial tasks such as liquidation protection are executed correctly and on time?
Yep, the main the main protection for job owners. So the Supreme DAO will be the job owner for their product, right? So and it means that you as a job owner want to be protected from some fails from the keeper side. So this protection is built around the cryptoeconomic incentives for keepers. So what does it mean? It means that keepers, they stake tokens as a security deposit for node running, and when they operate the node, they should sign all the jobs according to the execution conditions. For example, one of execution condition is how many blocks or how many time keeper has after the condition when condition is met. So it means that, for example, you need to update your health ratio, you need to capitalize your position more to avoid the liquidation, and you understand that this task is quite important because if there will be liquidation, the user funds will be partly wrecked, right? I mean, not stolen, but just wrecked based on the liquidation in curve. So you need to set up the quite short time after the condition is met. So if health ratio is below a certain point, the origin should almost immediately, maybe within the 1 minute or 5 or 4 blocks, execute this. I mean, possibly just a 30, for example. So, and if origin wouldn't execute this in within this time, other keepers can slash the selected keeper, get part of his stake, and also sign the transaction for you. So it means that finally all the transactions execution is protected by slashing mechanisms for keepers. So if your transaction wasn't executed on time according to configuration of the job, the keeper will be slashed, and during the slashing event, other keeper will inevitably sign your transaction. So and it means that all keepers, all other keepers are incentivized to slash the failed keeper. Not all of them can slash him, so now there is a round robin key for like a slashing key. So, but anyway, so if the selected keeper didn't execute the job on time, there is other keeper that is strongly incentivized to slash him, get part of his tokens, and at the same time execute your job. So finally, it should provide robustness for job execution. So this is the main mechanism at this moment.
Yeah, I think that we're the only automation network that really has that kind of comprehensive, decentralized skin in the game by keepers.
Yep.
And I guess the other thing you could ask is, well, how do we know we have enough keepers? How many keepers do we have? And the answer is it varies by chain, but the objective is to have close to 100 keepers on mainnet. And how many keepers are actually needed? I would argue that you could probably do it with 5, but it's just better for everyone to have as many keepers as possible.
Yeah, but so the Power Agent is being tested for more than 6 months, maybe 7, 8 months in total, in various networks in Sepolia, in Gnosis, in Ethereum, in Arbitrum, and I can say that the 5 keepers I think is not enough at all, because so there can be different issues with RPCs. Also, so some keepers using decentralized RPCs, some keepers using their own ones. Also, so there are different circumstances in which keepers can go offline or be not active for a while. So I think that 5 keepers is not enough. So then I think that maybe the 30 or 50 keepers is a good amount as a starting point for being sure that there is many keepers that can execute any kind of a job and there are enough slashers for them. For example, at Gnosis chain, we have more than 100 keepers now. On other chains, the number is much less, of course, but it depends on the incentivization. Because, for example, on Ethereum, the gas costs are quite high, and the cost of setting up keeper is also high because you need to make a stake, you need to register your keeper. It's all costs from Ethereum for you, and so it can be really costly to launch a keeper. I mean, not extremely costly, but it can be like a little barrier to launch a keeper if there is no jobs that provide you stable income in Ethereum. And for example, in Gnosis chain, we have some jobs that are deployed by users. For example, we have some Gnosis validators jobs that claim the rewards, convert these rewards to some stable coins for validators. And it means that Gnosis validators already automated their daily needs by Powerpool. But why they did it? Because the gas costs in Gnosis are extremely low, so it means that you can automate everything you want without caring about the gas at all. So in Ethereum, the automation market is more complex because every transaction is costs you real money. So probably you don't want to automate some simple things because you don't want to decrease your APR by all the gas costs that you will need to pay in the future. So this is why we think that possibly, as you said, Arseny, the roll-ups can be even more interesting for automation right now, because it's just much more cheap, and in cheaper networks there is much easier to engage more keepers because the cost of registering keeper is low, because the amount of jobs that can be deployed by users is much higher possibly. Yeah, so that's it. So we think that possibly the income from keeper separation can be even higher on Arbitrum than on Ethereum, just because the number of jobs can be much more. And this is why we're focusing more on incentivizing keepers on low-fee networks, because it's the approach that we don't need to spend a lot of tokens for incentivizing keepers, but at the same time we can engage a lot of them, build a stable keepers community, the signers set community, and attract more and more jobs there. But of course, if you finally will deploy on Ethereum, I think that we will ensure that at least the 20 or 30 keepers are there, because so we have the list of people who want to run a node. We have some other node runners there, but yeah, to be sure that, for example, 30 keepers will be satisfied running on Ethereum, we need to provide some token airdrops or some CP liquidity, not liquidity mining, but keepers mining, I could say. And yeah, we don't see any reason to do that if there is no real significant jobs on Ethereum. Okay, so if you plan to deploy, and we will know the date, so we will make some incentivizing campaign and provide more rewards for keepers and engage more people to run a node. And I think that at least 20, 30 keepers they will be on Ethereum mainnet for your launch. Because this is like a chicken and egg problem, right? So if you have the network and